Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another episode of The Chocolate Shake. It is my intent today to talk about justice, but more specifically, what's going on in Palestine, Israel, and how it is that we need to be just as moral men. The conflict in Palestine, Israel now is way out of control. There needed to be a ceasefire weeks ago, and for reasons that's probably unbeknownst to most of us as commoners, we don't know why it is that these Western powers are backing Israel the way they are, except for the common things that we know, right? We do know that Western powers are trying to maintain their hegemony. They want control over this world. We understand that they use Israel as a type of satellite country in the Middle East to, I guess it's some type of buffer between the East and the West. And they use Israel as a nation to spy on other nations that are on that side of the world. They use Israel as some type of military jump-off point. So I understand that there are strategic reasons why the West would back Israel. Outside of that, I see it as nothing but evil. How is it that we can back up a country that we know practiced an apartheid system when we just tore down one apartheid system in South Africa just 20 years ago? Now here we are, 20 years or 30 years later, propping up another apartheid system. And yes, for those who don't know, yes, Israel is an apartheid system. It's taking one religion and one people, it places it over another religion and another people, and it actually separates the people by physical barriers and borders. So we're not going to play games about, well, Israel's not really an apartheid nation. You know, it's the best democracy in the Middle East and this type of soft language. We're not going to do that because we're moral men, right? We're going to tell the truth about this thing. Like the old folks say, tell the truth and shame this devil. Now, we know that we're looking at an apartheid state that's heavily supported by the United States of America. Of course, this country being the military might of the world, and the arsenal, America's arsenal, has just been opened wide for the Israelis to pluck out whatever it is they need to subjugate the Palestinians at this moment. And we cry foul on that because we're tax-paying citizens. We didn't give anybody permission to do that, right? But this is what's going on right now. So today I wanted to talk about how is it that we moral people, how do we position ourselves with this conflict in the Middle East? So let's define justice. We all know that if you come outside of justice or you are unjust, then the universe has a way of putting you back in your place, doesn't it? This universe has a way of checking unjust folk or injustice. Like the modern nomenclature says, you better stay in your lane. Because when you come out of it, then something will check you and put you back in it, or the universe will crash you out of it. There are consequences to pay when you are unjust. So now what is this justice that we're speaking about? Let's define it. I'm going to define it by one of our Prophet Muhammed's greatest disciples. His name is Imam Ali. Some in the Muslim world, if not most, believe that Imam Ali was the spiritual successor of Prophet Muhammad. And after the Prophet Muhammad, all of his companions and disciples, Imam Ali was the spiritual master over them, right? He was the master of those who call themselves believers in Islam. He said about justice, justice is putting things back into their proper places. Quote, justice is putting things back into their proper places, end quote. Now, isn't that a beautiful, simple definition of justice? Doesn't that just tell it all? Can you imagine, and let's just say in the modern world for the last 500 years, can you imagine a world in the last 500 years if things were placed back into their proper order, that the oligarchs, the capitalists, the colonizers, everything they have right now, that they've propped themselves, their families, their nations, their tribes up on. Can you imagine if everything was taken back from them that they took from others, and it was given back to those who originally had it? Can you imagine living in a world where whatever it was that Allah gave this planet, God the Creator gave this planet, that it went right back to its natural order and right back to its natural peoples who first came across those things? Can you imagine the type of world we would live in? That's scary, isn't it? Yes, that's scary. It's scary to know that your land could be taken. The things that you say, this is mine, and you find out later on, in fact, it's not yours. Your grandpappy stole it. And now it needs to go back to the man he stole it from, or back to the people it went to. Wow. Can you imagine living in a world where resources that you think that you have some type of natural right to, or some inherited right to, that someone tap you on the shoulder and say, excuse me, sir, that belongs to my people. That belongs to my tribe. 2, 3, 4, 5 generations ago, your people stole it from my people. So in fact, it's mine. And we want it back with interest. Can you imagine living in a world like that? Well, this is what Imam Ali, on him be peace, said. That this is the fact of the matter. That if you want true justice, then you need to put things back into their proper places. Now say, we live in a world where we can't do that. It's impossible to do. Then what we can do is stop people who are right now trying to take other people's lands and natural resources. We can stand up as moral men and say, no, we're not going to allow that. We will not allow you to take another man's land. We will not allow you to run them off of their properties. We will not allow you to steal their natural resources. That we're now in present time. We can't help what happened in the past, and we don't know what's going to happen in the future. But what we do know is what we can do for right now. And as moral men, we will stand up and say, hell no, you cannot take those people's land. No, the Israeli government cannot just stand up and take the land of Palestinians. No, you cannot kill thousands of people because you're angry at them fighting you back because you're taking their land. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine somebody killing thousands of people because they had the nerve to stand up and fight you back because you were stealing their land and oppressing them? It's absurd. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And that the Western world, to some degree now, because people are standing up in the Western world saying, we're not going with that either. But it's absurd that we are being told through the media and through whatever intelligent sources that somehow we should be accepting this. What the Israeli government is doing to the Palestinian people, that is God awful. It is sinful. It is evil. It is low. It is weak. It is cowardice. It is the worst type of the worst type of behavior that can emanate from a human being. I would say it's dog-like or animal-like, but even dogs are better than that. Dogs treat other dogs better than what the Israeli, or how the Israeli is treating the Palestinian right now. Yeah, I said it, and that's my position. I mean that. And won't take it back. As a moral man, I will not take it back. So now this is leading us to what a moral man's stand should be. And lastly, I want to read a verse from my holy book. And again, I'm Muslim, so this is coming from my holy book. I'm very sure you can find passages from the Holy Bible, passages from the Jewish text, the Torah, passages from other great books that was sent, I believe, from God and other great divines, I'm sure that you can find passages that are very similar. But let me read the one that I'm most familiar with, and that's the Holy Quran. In chapter 5, verse 8, we have a statement that says, "People of belief, be righteous witnesses for God, and do not let hatred of anyone move you to deviate from justice. Act justly. This is nearer to piety. And be reverent. Surely God is well aware of what you do." And that's the end of the verse. That's chapter 5, verse 8 from the Quran. This is God telling us as we believe it. First of all, pointing out this is for believing people. If you don't believe in God, if you don't believe in the great divines, these men that were sent as messengers of God, then fine. I do know that you believe in justice on some level. So if you have any type of justice in your heart or sense of justice in your heart, then you could also relate to this verse, okay? But if you cannot relate to this verse, and you're saying, oh, that's that Malaki, these God-fearing people named Malaki, okay, then fine. Then this is for the believing people. And we can speak a language to you disbelieving people at another time. We'll speak your language at another time, like Malcolm X said. Everyone has a language, and we can deal with you in your language. Right now, we're dealing with believing people. Be righteous. Be witnesses for what is righteous. This is what we're talking about today. This is the position of the moral man. You want to be a witness for righteousness. We also want to make sure that whatever we feel about any issue, even if you have hatred in your heart for people, you can't stand these people. You actually have a literal hatred in your heart for those people. It's very important for us to understand that you don't let that hatred take you away from justice. You still have to be, or we moral men still have to be just, even if we hold a hatred against a certain people, right? This is a command that comes from the creator of the heavens and the earth. Again, if you want to be just, then relax. Understand that, okay, I can't let my ego, my nafs, as we say in the world of Islam, our passions, because we can't stand this particular tribe or these particular people, make us do something to them that's unjust. We're told that if you could subdue your passions and you could act justly, even with your enemy, that in the eyesight of the great creator of the heavens and the earth and everything between it, this is piety, right? This is being conscious, having a consciousness of God. This is having a consciousness of the love for humanity. This is being or keeping with the spirit of having awe of the creator of this universe and being respectful to him. And lastly, the verse goes on to say, this is a sign of reverence. You're showing that you're reverent. You're showing that you understand. You're showing that, okay, yes, I will be a person who'll be respectable to God and man. And lastly, that Allah sees all we do. That there is a creator of the heavens and the earth and everything between it. And that this creator God has a connection to us. And we as human beings, we have a connection to one another. So we have to be aware of that connection. We have to have an awareness to God and having an awareness and a respect for one another. And this is what justice is, right? This is what justice is all about. So this is my position on what's going on in Palestine, Israel. I believe this should be the moral man's position. I believe that the heinous acts that are happening in that country or in that region of the world should be called out by the moral men. We should stand up, Don't feel weak about it. It's our opportunity to use our voices at this juncture in the game. It's time for us to use our voices and use our monies or whatever it is that we can do to get that situation over there settled once and for all. That we need to make sure that we check the Israelis from taking properties, taking natural resources, and land outright away from the Palestinian who have been on that land since God created this earth. So that's my message for today. I hope that in some way it helped you. If you want a better understanding of what's going on in Palestine, Israel, I would definitely say read the book that I read many years ago. I read it right as it came out. I guess about 2006, 2007, 2008, somewhere in there. It was the book that was written by the 39th president of the United States of America, Jimmy Carter. He wrote a book that was called Palestine, Peace, Not Apartheid. I thought it was a great book. Prior to reading that book, I read some articles that came from our great human rights leader, Kwame Ture, or some might know him as Stokely Carmichael. And between our great brother, Stokely Carmichael, a.k.a. Kwame Ture, and the 39th president of the United States, Jimmy Carter, I was able to have a understanding of what was going on in Palestine, Israel. And through those two individuals, I was able to see that the Israeli in this particular conflict is the unjust party. They're the ones that are in the wrong. Okay? So you can pick up those books, or you can study those two gentlemen and what they had to say about the conflict. I think they're very clear about it. They bring in the UN resolutions and they take you step by step by step so you can understand that conflict and wrap your mind around it so you can speak at least to some general degree about what's going on over there. But we're all human beings, and we all know that when you look at the numbers of people that the Israelis have killed so far, let's not even play games about it. We know that this is looking like an outright genocide, and it's time for us to say that as moral men. If you find any value in what it is that your dear brother just said, please do me a great favor and like and subscribe to my channel so that I can get it promoted. YouTube work on certain types of algorithms, etc. And this is how you get your videos promoted. This is how you get people to look on. This is how you grow a channel, okay? So help me out with that. I would appreciate it. All right, well, thank you very much. And God willing, we'll see you for the next episode. Peace.